Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Back to the Dugout here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network on this Thursday afternoon. As always, I'm your host, Toby Schulman here. Very exciting Thursday afternoon episode for us today as we pick off right where we left off on, was that Monday where we did that lineup preview for the World Series. So we got World Series preview part 2 here pretty much. The whole episode is going to be previewing everything from the World Series. We talked about the lineups both with the Yankees and the Dodgers last episode on Monday, but we got to talk the starting pitching. We got to talk the bullpens. And we also got to talk, predictions, strengths and weaknesses. We're going to talk about some futures bets as well. Look at some guys who are in the running for the World Series MVP. We're going to come up with a couple for each team that we could think of and try and find some value there with these World Series MVP future props. And then we'll pick a World Series winner as well. But that's all going to be on Back to the Dugout today. And if we have time, we're going to go over just some other stuff, maybe an additional storyline here that I thought was interesting, as well as maybe go back to the history of the series, but I don't think we'll have time for that personally. But for now, it looks like we have like 5 things to cover today. So I want to get into that so we don't lose much time. But before we do that, I think it is only necessary, at least, and I think it's only fair to shout out Fernando Valenzuela. Rest in peace to an absolute legend of the game, a champion in the 1981 World Series. I'm actually going to move my camera down a little bit so you guys can see the accolades there a little bit better. There we go. But rest in peace to Fernando Valenzuela, of course. Just such a legendary pitcher from Mexico. You can see the numbers there. I mean, they're just incredible stuff. A 41.5 WAR, 173 losses to 100, or 173 wins to 153 losses, 3.54 career ERA, over 2,000 strikeouts, almost 3,000 innings pitched. This guy was a workhorse. And I mean, you look at his career, very long 17-year career. Obviously, he's not in the Hall of Fame, but one of those pitchers who is definitely in the Hall of very, very good. He is a Cy Young winner, a Rookie of the Year winner, obviously a World Series champion, a 6-time All-Star, a Gold Glover, 2-time Silver Slug pitcher, and Major League Player of the Year of TSN. But we don't really look at that, do we? Nobody really cares too much. But again, a big shout out to Fernando Valenzuela's career. Just seems like very odd timing. With the Dodgers about to play. I mean, this seems like maybe an angel for the Dodgers, where this might be another narrative that we're following now in the World Series is how do they honor Valenzuela? Do they go out there and do they win this first matchup since 1981 when Valenzuela won his only World Series ring in that year? So interesting narrative to follow there, but that wasn't what I was getting into earlier in the introduction. I just thought it was only right to at least pay a quick tribute to Valenzuela and the legendary career that he had, especially as a 1981 World Series champion. That I feel like fits into this show very well. But moving back to the 2024 World Series and this matchup in particular, we're going to be looking now at these starting pitchers and these bullpens for both of these teams. And again, I'm going to go to the screen share feature and pull up the rotations in the bullpen, so we all have something similar to kind of look at here. But give me just one more second and I'll get that on up. So here's the Dodgers' current starting rotation and bullpen, at least how it was in the NLCS. And I imagine it's going to stay pretty much that way going into the World Series. I'd be very surprised to see it not, unless somebody's coming off the injured list, which I don't personally know anything about that. But moving into the starting rotation here, it's headlined by 29-year-old Jack Flaherty. Not a lot of diversity here in this rotation in terms of the side of which they throw on. Every pitcher in this is a right-handed hitter in this rotation, and they're all pretty seasoned as far as age goes, besides one. But Jack Flaherty, a 29-year-old from the Detroit Tigers, sent over in a trade in July of 2024, obviously has been very solid for the Dodgers, has really held this front of the rotation together through kind of just the whole second half and slightly into this postseason as well. Flaherty, 4 starts this postseason. He went 5 innings pitched, 5.1 innings pitched, 7 innings, and then 3 innings pitched in those outings. So he hasn't been absolutely awful in the postseason by any means. He has that one little blow up start there with the 3 innings pitched, but 2 5 inning starts and then 1 7 inning. He's been very, very reliable out of the rotation for the Dodgers, and that's why he's starting in game one. In those starts, he went 5 strikeouts, 2 strikeouts, 6 strikeouts, and then 0 in that one little blow up start. But besides that one shutdown, 7 innings pitch start to win NLCS game one, that was a big start and a big, I guess, kind of tell to the rest of the league that Flaherty really is an elite pitcher in this postseason. That's definitely going to be something that I think is an interesting thing to look at, comparing starts that he made against the Mets and against the Yankees. We're going to be looking into how Flaherty is going to be doing against these two teams there. And sorry, just got a quick notification that the recording stopped after 8 minutes, which I forgot it was going to do. So that kind of just threw me off of my train of thought there for a second. But moving back to Jack Flaherty, in the postseason, he's tied for first on the Dodgers with most home runs given up at 3 home runs given up. But he has a 4.7 K per 9 rate in the postseason, which is just not good at all. He's just a lower velo guy, and I think this is where he's going to struggle against the Yankees. The majority of his usage comes with his fastball, and if he's not hitting the spots where he really wants, that's going to be a very difficult. It's just going to be a very difficult time for him against this Yankees team that is known for being able to hit for a lot of power. So Jack Flaherty, I think he'll put together good starts in this World Series, and he'll most likely get a couple starts, but I think he is going to have to work around that lower velocity, maybe not use his fastball as much as he usually does. But it seemed to work, well against a very heavy power hitting team in the Mets as well. So, I mean, I'm not too concerned in Flaherty as far as velocity goes. His pitching has been phenomenal this whole second half, this whole season pretty much. So, if the Dodgers are willing to ride with him as their starting pitcher number one, I think that is enough said, really. But moving to the second starting pitcher here, as you can see there, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the Japanese export 26-year-old. He's been really, really solid this postseason, I feel like, especially. It's not the most dominant thing you'd probably expect, given that this is the highest paid pitcher in the sport, but in 3 starts this postseason, he's gone 3 innings, 5 innings, and 4.1 innings. So I think over 4 innings to 5 innings is where Yamamoto is going to be pretty much this entire postseason. I don't really expect Yamamoto to go deep into games. He did have that injury earlier on in the season and has kind of been dealing with his health this entire year. And I just don't really think I can seriously see him going very deep into games right now. But I mean, at this point in the season, I mean, there's no better time to start going deep into games than right now. And there's no time you have to plan for in the future, really, than next season. So if he's going to start going deep into these games in the postseason, it's going to happen now, and that's when they need it. So maybe they've just been ramping him up a little bit more. But he may have to figure out how to outduel Carlos Rodon in game 2. So he is slated as the game 2 pitcher for LA already. We don't know who the game 2 pitcher is for New York. We're going to speculate all of that later. But he has a 5.11 ERA and an 8.0 K per 9 rate in the postseason, and it's good. It works for the Dodgers, but Rodon's been really good, and if he's not totally unfamiliar with this National League West, and he's not totally unfamiliar with Dodger Stadium as well. So that's going to be a hard pitching matchup for Yamamoto to have to deal with. But only 4 walks given up to 11 strikeouts as a rookie pitcher in the postseason. That seems very solid enough, and he just doesn't really look like a rookie pitcher. 12.1 innings pitched. Again, I don't expect it necessarily to be ramped up, but why not now? Why not now? He is paid that much for a reason. I think if I'm the Dodgers, I'm expecting, if he has to go twice, I would expect maybe we could see Yamamoto go deep into these games. I get it. Dodgers Shohei Ohtani's coming. Yankees in 6. That'll be. Hey, I'll be happy with that. Honestly, I will be. But I think it's hard. I think it's tough to say the Dodgers don't deserve this. They've played really, really well. And the depth chart, I mean, they're missing a lot of people. Which let's take a look at right now before we get into Walker Buehler here, because they're missing a lot of people in this pitching staff here for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And you can see A lot of it's been from earlier this season, and some of it's honestly pretty recent as we go back to Gavin Stone on September 3rd and Tyler Glasnow in mid-August and Clayton Kershaw in late August as well. I mean, these guys were all going to be utilized heavily in this postseason. And not having a guy like Tony Gonsolin, who was an all-star last year, and Dustin May, who just can't seem to ever be healthy for some reason. I think he had like a torn esophagus or something was what his season-ending injury was. But I don't even know where to start with that. But they have missing a lot of people in this pitching staff, as you could see. And also here, 3 more pitchers that honestly can give you pretty good outings as well. So I think as a pitching staff, I mean, not as just a pitching staff, but as a whole, this Dodgers team definitely deserves to be here. They beat 2 very good teams in the Mets and the Padres. They played a great regular season. I mean, they're the number 1 overall seed. To say they don't deserve it, I don't know. Not really something I'm going to entertain, but I mean, I'm also definitely willing to sit here and listen to anybody that says, them spending this much money and then instantly getting back to the World Series. Maybe you throw like a little bit of an asterisk on it or something, but I still think it's wrong to say that they don't deserve to be here. I mean, the World Series is arguably the hardest championship to make in any sport. I think any team that makes it deserves it. It's just the Dodgers did it in a bit more of an unsavory way than a lot of people will, want to admit. But moving back down to Walker Buehler here, who is age 30 now and was a first-round draft pick back in 2015. So he's been a Dodger for quite some time, and this is a long time coming for Walker Buehler to be able to be a huge part of this Dodgers rotation in such a big series. I'm excited for Walker Buehler to see what kind of Walker Buehler we're going to get in this World Series. In the postseason, he's made 3 starts, and it's been really solid besides 1 game in the NLDS. Every start, he's gone 5 innings pitched, 5 innings pitched, and then 4 innings pitched for or has he gone only 2 starts? I can't now I'm second guessing myself, but I think he has a combined 9 innings pitched on this postseason and has at times been getting 2 feet of horizontal break on his sweeper, which he has never done prior at all. He has never done that, I believe, prior to that, and he had 4 sweepers that had over like 2 feet of horizontal break or something in his most recent start. And while he has a 6 ERA, he's got a 6.0 K per 9 rate. It's not good, but he's shown he can put together good starts. And even when he had that 6 earned run start back in what was that, his first start of the postseason against the Padres, I think, he still stayed in and I think went like 5 innings pitched or something. So he's reliable enough. I mean, he's got some really good off-speed stuff, and he honestly has not terrible, other metrics as far. I mean, well, I'll put him on the screen here, but you can see he's got decent ground ball rate numbers, decent barrel rate numbers, average exit velocity and fastball velo numbers. So it's not exactly the dominant Walker Buehler that we remember from, earlier in his career necessarily, but I mean, the chase and whiff and strikeout numbers are not good at all. But other than that, I mean, he's been an average pitcher with his 75 innings pitched this season. And in the postseason, he's at least shown that he can do, something. He's shown that he could put together good starts and, above everything in the postseason, that's all that really matters. Moving back over here to the Dodgers depth chart here as we can get back into it. But only three starting pitchers is just, a little bit shaky to me. I am never the biggest believer in bullpen games work very well in a 7-game series, but they managed to get it done in 6 last series. So, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not going to work. All I'm going to say is that they have a lot of film now on these guys in this postseason to work on. The Yankees, I feel like it's going to be tough to roll out these 3 starting pitchers against the Yankees and not at least have them get used to some of these relief pitchers that are in the Dodgers bullpen. I mean, Dave Roberts did a great job of utilizing these guys enough to the point where the Mets didn't get used to them. And you could tell that, but I think against the Yankees, it's a whole nother beast. You're not dealing with Pete Alonso and Mark Vientos anymore. While you do have Lindor and Nimmo and other very good hitters, you're dealing with Judge, Soto, Stanton, perennial all-star hitters. This it's not even close to the New York Mets, and it's going to be tough. And I don't know if Dave Roberts is going to have that amount of freedom to necessarily move his bullpen around as he wishes, and we'll just have to see how comfortable the Yankees are going to get against this Dodgers starting rotation. And if they can get comfortable, it's going to pay dividends for them in the end of the series. But the Yanks have been a team on a mission as much as a team of destiny. They fought some tough challenges as well. It's hard to pick against New York at this postseason. I like the way you think. I really do. Um, they have fought some really hard challenges. I mean, I would argue right back the point I just made about the Dodgers injuries. They've had arguably more challenges than the Yankees. The Yankees have gone through worse stretches. I mean, that's not even up for debate. The Yankees were at one point in the summer months. I was questioning if this team was even going to make the postseason at some point. The fact that it was getting that off the rails, and luckily they got it back together in the second half of the season, as I kind of expected. But it's hard to also argue that this Yankees team isn't really the team of destiny either. With the old turtlenecks and everything of tradition that they seem to brought back out for this World Series. Everybody talking about how the new Yankees are not like the old Yankees, the Jazzes and the Alex Verdugos and the Judges wearing all of the turquoise arm sleeves, the turquoise belts, the purple belts. Everybody saying, "Oh, it's not the same type of New York team." They're starting to prove that it is the same type of New York team, a team that wins and a team that ultimately, when it comes down to it, has the same traditions. It's just a more different vibe in the locker room. But I think it's hard to argue that they're not the team of destiny. They haven't, in my opinion, had a very tough road to this World Series. If they would have beaten Baltimore and Detroit, I would have told you that I thought they were really well prepared. And I don't necessarily know if anything can prepare you well enough for the LA Dodgers this season. But I think if they would have played maybe some tougher competition, I would feel better at agreeing with you saying that it's a tough team to go up against or to take against. But I don't know. The Guardians are a great team, but I feel like as an offense, they don't have nearly as much firepower as a lot of those teams in the postseason do, especially the ones that the Dodgers played. I mean, the Dodgers played two incredible offenses, but yeah, that's the Dodgers starting rotation here and moving into their bullpen. We start off with their rookie, I guess, is really the best way to describe Landon Kanak, because he hasn't been really that great in all honesty. And looking at his stuff and what he's been able to do in this postseason, he's got a 15 ERA and a 9.0 K per nine. So that's not terrible there. He's got as many strikeouts as he does walks, so I don't love that. 5 earned runs in 3 innings pitched, though, is just not going to cut it. You're not going to be utilized by Dave Roberts very often if that's what you're doing. I don't expect Landon Kanak to really get much really playing time in this World Series, in all honesty. I mean, this is a guy who is, like I just said, a rookie going into Yankee Stadium, Dodger Stadium in the World Series, wherever is going to be tough. I just wouldn't feel very comfortable throwing him right into the mix. And I don't think if he's only pitched 3 innings right now, he's going to be very utilized going into the 2024 World Series. But pulling up his percentile rankings right now, because I'm interested to see how he looks. He's honestly pretty solid in terms of how he's been able to do this season in the percentile rankings in terms of walk rate and just X batting average. But I'm going to focus really just mainly on the walk rate there. He's supposed to be well above average in the walk rate, and you're seeing that he has just as many walks as he does strikeouts. That's not really what I like to see. So, I'm just not feeling very comfortable throwing this guy out there against the Yankees. The East Tennessee State alum. Just don't feel it. I doubt they'll be utilizing him very often, but who knows? He could be an opener. That could be something that the Dodgers tend to maybe throw in there. Let's talk about another rookie in Ben Casparrias, who has really impressed me because he looks like a really solid pitcher. and I'm really starting to wonder if they found a really solid starter in this kid when the time comes. He's got a 0 ERA still in 4.1 innings pitched. He is recorded an 8.3 K per nine rate, 4 strikeouts to only 2 walks, and only 2 hits allowed. This guy has been everything the Dodgers could have wanted. I believe he got the call up or like right before, what was that? Either the NLDS or the NLCS. I think it was the NLDS. And he has just looked really, really good. This is a guy that I would love to see break into the starting rotation for the Dodgers just because it's like a homegrown guy. He's been really, really solid. And, moving over to his percentile rankings, because I'm very interested to see how the number 23 prospect in the LA system compares to these guys. He's obviously not a qualified pitcher in terms of guys in the rest of the league, but taking a look at his numbers here, I mean, the fastball velo is not bad at all, averaging at 95.5. The whiff rate and the strikeout rate numbers are great. As you can see, he's got a 34.7% whiff rate. That's up there with some of the league's best if he was able to post that with the numbers to be qualified. And then hitters just can't seem to find the barrel. And when you're talking about the Yankees, that's a very, very, very good trait to have in a pitcher. Somebody who is able to locate the baseball around the barrel of the bat. And that's going to just limit hard contact. Straight up, that's going to limit home runs. That is going to be a really solid trait for Ben Casparrias to be able to show against the Yankees. If he could do better with the control, that's just the one thing that I got. The whiff rate's there. I don't know why the chase rate is so bad, but if he could just somehow get the walks down a little bit, I think Casparrias could be an incredible starting pitcher at the big league level. If they want to transition him into one, but he's proving that he is a very solid bullpen piece for the Los Angeles Dodgers in this postseason, and I'm sure he's going to at least step up in a big way in this World Series. But going back over to the depth chart here so we could take a look at Edgardo Henriquez, who is a 22-year-old right-handed pitcher. And in this postseason, Henriquez is not doing so hot with a 7.2 ERA and a 5.4 K per nine. He's got 5 innings pitched, so he's gotten a little bit of innings under his belt, but he's given up 8 hits in those 5 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, 2 home runs, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. So as many strikeouts as walks. Not a guy I expect to get a lot of time out of this bullpen, but maybe in garbage time or something, he could come out and give you some innings to eat or something. I don't know. Just hasn't been very solid in this postseason. He's a prospect, so I understand it's not necessarily the easiest thing in the world to come up and just excel as a prospect in the postseason. But it's interesting enough to note that while he's obviously like Casparrias, not a qualified pitcher, these are the underlying metrics. And, remind you again, red is good. He's been very, very solid as far as the underlying metrics go. And let me just adjust the camera one more time so you guys can see the numbers. Fastball velo is there, almost at 99. Average exit velocity numbers, they're pretty low against him. K rate is great. The barrel rate's there. The hard hit rate is there as well. Just more consistency, I would say, is really just bottom line. He doesn't have a lot of reps under his belt. That's also just the bottom line, is that it's too short of a sample size for us to really say anything. But the underlying numbers in the regular season look so good that I know he's got it in him to at least put together something dominant. And I think we'll see one outing from him in this postseason where he can maybe give us something good. But that's just my thoughts on that. Moving to a guy that I really wanted to talk about, and Brent Honeywell, one of like the heart and I guess soul of this team. Brent Honeywell, he hasn't done necessarily incredible as far as the numbers go. He's got the worst K per 9 rate on the team so far in the postseason with a 2.3 and 7.2 innings pitched. He still has as many strikeouts as he does with walks. He's got a pair each, but he has a 4.7 ERA. Where Honeywell really comes in is just he could do so much out of the bullpen for these guys. Max Muncy was talking about it after the NLCS win, that guy could go out there and give him 2 outs. He could go out there and give him 4 innings. That's going to be where he is making his appearances here in this postseason. Whenever they need just a versatile guy out there to probably eat innings, I imagine that's when they go to Honeywell. And the Yankees are going to have to look they're going to have to look to hit Honeywell here because he has not done well this postseason. And, as far as his underlying numbers go, they're not very good. You see here, like just all of the blue here. I mean, it's just really not good. The ground ball rate's even average. Barrel rate's great. That's nothing to complain about, but he doesn't get strikeouts. He doesn't get chases. He doesn't get whiffs. And the Yankees, if they're not doing that, are a very tough team to beat. They are a tough team to beat when they're not beating themselves. So I don't know how Honeywell is going to do. He has done really well in 37.2 innings pitched this regular season. It's not the regular season anymore. We've been out of that for about a month. So interesting thing to note there for Brent Honeywell. But we're going to get into Ryan Brazier here and then probably just take a quick break before getting into the Yankee side of things here. But I'm hoping we got time to at least get into some of this other stuff. If we don't, we'll just obviously do predictions, and then that'll take us to the end of the show. But we're going to talk about Ryan Brazier, and then we're going to go back into a quick break, and then we're going to head back into the Yankees side of things once we wrap up the Dodgers bullpen. But heading back to the bullpen here, you see Ryan Brazier, a 37-year-old right-hander, and I didn't know Ryan Brazier was 37 years old. That's actually insane to me. But looking at his stats from this postseason, at least, he has a 5.1 K per nine rate, a 5.14 ERA, and 7 innings pitched, giving up 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 home runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. So at least he's striking out more than he's walking. That's at least a good note for some Dodgers fans. But other than that, Brazier's just been pretty average. But looking at his underlying numbers, what he's kind of been able to do all season, he's been honestly elite at doing some things. He's been really, really solid at limiting walks with a 4.5% walk rate. He's been really good at getting chases with a 34.8% chase rate. And his fastball velo for, being on the lower end, it's still above average there. You see it sits in the 56th percentile. So he's got it in him to be solid enough. And I think he'll put together some solid enough outings, at least in the World Series. All these Dodgers bullpen arms have at times stepped up pretty nicely. So I expect that to be the case with this World Series. But we're going to take a quick break here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. When I come back, we're going to finish off the Dodgers bullpen. We're going to get into the Yankees rotation and bullpen pretty quickly. And then we're going to do just quick game-by-game predictions and an overall World Series prediction. If we've got time, talk about some futures odds after that. But until then, quick break now for a couple minutes, and we'll be back here on Back to the Dugout. As always, I'm Toby Schulman here on this Thursday afternoon on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. I will see you guys in a couple of minutes. We're back in the bottom half of the hour on Back to the Dugout to give you guys some more World Series preview. We got the Dodgers bullpen still to go through here, and we're flying through this show. So we got about 5 more relievers to talk about, and then we've got the 4 starting pitchers in the Yankees rotation, and then we've got their bullpen to cover as well. So let's hope we get through all this stuff here in the next 27 minutes. I think we should be all right, but we got Anthony Banda to talk about the 31-year-old left-handed pitcher in the Dodgers bullpen. This postseason, Banda has honestly been really good. He has a 1.59 ERA and a 1.06 whip in 11.1 K per 9 rate in 5.2 innings pitched. He's only given up 4 hits, 1 earned run, 0 home runs, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts. He's been incredibly solid. This is an arm you got to keep your eye on in this matchup for sure. And looking at his kind of underlying metrics here, actually, I'm not even on the screen share tab. My bad, I'll get that up for you guys. Okay, looking at his underlying metrics here, you obviously could see above average in a lot of different categories, a lot of red there. Fastball velo is there. The chase rate is good enough. The whiff rate is definitely there as well. And the barrel rate and the ground ball rate is good as well. So he's going to offer something very nicely to Dave Roberts and the entire Dodgers pitching staff as a whole. Hopefully, we'll see if this left-handed arm can shut down some of those really solid left-handed bats on the New York Yankees. He'll be tasked, I'm sure, with getting guys like Anthony Rizzo, Jazz Chisholm, and Juan Soto out. I'm sure he'll be utilized through that middle of the Yankee order for a lot of it. I'm sure we'll see him come up against Austin Wells as well. But who knows? Either way, definitely a pitcher to keep your eye on in this Dodgers bullpen. But moving back to the pen here as we move to Daniel Hudson, who is also 37 years old. So a lot of these guys are honestly aging. So it's good that guys like Casper Arias and Henriquez are up at least. But looking at Hudson here, sorry, I forgot who we were on. He's got a 2.08 ERA, 6.2 K per 9 in the postseason through 4.1 innings pitched. He's given up 4 hits, 1 earned run, 0 home runs as well, and 1 walk to 3 strikeouts. So he has been honestly great as well. Not as dominant necessarily as Banda has been, but Daniel Hudson, for a 37-year-old, has been far more productive than you would probably expect. The fastball velocity is still above average at being nearly 40 years old, which is incredible. The whiff rate is in the upper 90s at 32.1%. And then obviously the hard hit numbers are not great, but at 37 years old, you're not necessarily going to be the best at limiting hard hit contact. He just needs, I think, to go in there and get strikeouts. If he can get a lot of strikeouts, that is going to be a real weight lifted off the shoulders of the bullpen. But we'll see if Banda will be able to do that for them. But moving on here to Evan Phillips. Evan Phillips, 30-year-old, kind of the talk of the town of this of this entire bullpen. He's been a big name here for multiple years now and a staple piece of this Dodgers team. And, he is really not disappointed this season. 0 ERA in this postseason, 8.1 K per 9, 6 Ks, 3 walks, no home runs or earned runs allowed, only 3 hits and 6.2 innings pitched. Pretty much if Evan Phillips is coming in for the Yankees, they could probably kiss any opportunity of getting hits goodbye. That's not true, but it's going to be tough for them. Obviously, they were able to get to Emmanuel Clase, so I won't say anybody's unhittable for the New York Yankees right now. But Evan Phillips has been very, very good, and he is a very solid pitcher with 2 wins in this postseason. He's a guy with a lot of confidence right now, not a guy in the Dodgers bullpen that I am necessarily wanting to face on a nightly basis. I am not really too comfortable in saying that Evan Phillips is a pitcher that I would be really wanting to play a lot in this postseason. So hopefully Dave Roberts can minimize how much Evan Phillips is in there, so we don't have to see him too much. But looking at his percentile rankings, they're really good. Obviously, the average exit velocity, not a lot of hits on him, so not a lot of exit velo and not a lot of hard hit contact if he's giving up not a lot of hits and not a lot of home runs. The hard hit rate, same thing. Both are sitting in the 90th to almost top percentile in the entire league. The chase rate is honestly a bit lower than I thought it would be. The whiff rate is fine. The K rate's great. He's really everything you could want in a relief pitcher. Given that the walks maybe go down a little bit, but still it is slightly above average there. This is just an incredible relief pitcher. One of the best remaining in the postseason, one of the best in the postseason, period. So it's great that we get to see Evan Phillips compete at this level again. But moving on to the final two pitchers in this bullpen, these are big names here in Michael Kopech and Blake Trinan. Michael Kopech, 28 years old, a big move from the White Sox in July of 2024. This guy has been a big piece of this bullpen. He has 6 games played, even started one game as an opener, picked up 1 win, 5.1 innings pitched. He's got only 2 hits allowed, 1 earned run, and 4 walks to 7 strikeouts. So the walks could probably use to get taken down a little bit, but he's got an 11.8 K per 9 rate in the postseason, and a 1.13 whip on a 1.69 ERA. So he has been, besides that 1 earned run, almost perfect. I mean, if he could just maybe control the ball a little bit, or he doesn't have a home run, sorry, 1 earned run. But if he could get the walks down a little bit, I mean, this guy is going to be, borderline untouchable come this World Series. And looking at his underlying metrics now, obviously the velocity is going to be good for a guy like Kopech, but you don't necessarily expect, the whiff rate to be that high all the time. And the whiff rate is really solid. The chase rate is a little low, but the fastball velo kind of makes up for that, as well as obviously the K rate and the extension. He is great. And you can see he uses that fastball a lot, but he's also got that slider and a cutter as well that he could use. This guy is a very, very toolsy pitcher, and just a really tough one to have to go up against multiple times in a series. And he's going to be utilized a lot. In this postseason so far, he's appeared 6 times. He's going to appear a lot. So I would personally be bracing yourself for that if I am the Yankees. But Blake Trinan, also a guy who came out 6 times in this postseason. He's been one of the best, if not the best arm in this entire Dodgers pitching staff this postseason. Recorded 3 saves and a hold in 8 innings pitched, only allowing 7 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks on 11 strikeouts for a 12.4 K per 9 rate. He's got a 1.13 whip and a 1.13 ERA. So he has been, honestly, like Kopech, besides that 1 earned run, pretty much perfect. But that's really what he has been this entire postseason. He's gone in and he's been able to get 2 inning saves. He's been able to just mow down lineups, and that is something that is really going to be a problem for the New York Yankees. So speaking of the Yankees, let's get into their bullpen and their starting rotation now. So we just don't run out of time here. But starting with Garrett Cole, who I feel like is just the obvious one to kind of just run through real quick. This playoffs, he's been solid, but, anywhere that isn't Yankee Stadium, it seems to be where he is the most solid. 3 starts under 6 innings pitched in 2 of those starts. So, sorry, a weird way of phrasing that, but in 3 starts, 2 of 3 of those were under 6 innings pitched. He leads the New York Yankees in postseason innings pitched this year at 16.1. But he's only got a 6.6 K per 9 rate with a 3.31 ERA. So it's not bad at all. It's just not ace level stuff. I feel like we're seeing more ace level stuff out of a guy like Carlos Rodon, who's the starting pitcher too, as you can see in this depth chart here. The 31-year-old was obviously a big free agent signing from San Francisco. So like I kind of said earlier, this is a guy who's not totally unfamiliar with the NL West. That should be a bonus to them, hopefully. It hasn't totally left his system being in New York for almost 2 full seasons. But he's looked really good in this postseason, besides that 1 start against Kansas City where he started out really hot and then just kind of fell off of the table. 14.1 innings pitched. He has the second most innings under his belt with the New York Yankees this postseason. Only Garrett Cole has more innings pitched thrown than him. In his 2 starts against Cleveland, they resulted in 5-2 wins for the Yankees. So when he pitches, at least in big time games, more often than not this postseason, they've resulted in wins for the Yankees. 6.0 innings pitched and 4.2 innings pitched with 15 Ks combined in the ALCS. He leads the Yankees by a wide margin with 22 postseason strikeouts. I believe the second highest was like 12 or 14. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm almost positive that's what it was. I'm actually going to double check that just to make sure. Yeah, next one was 12. Cole and Weaver both have 12. But moving back into the Yankees, Carlos Rodon should be a huge, huge contributor to this rotation and should give us better starts, hopefully, than what we got in the ALCS, which were still great starts. And I feel like most Yankee fans would probably take those. You want to see Rodon be that dominant strikeout type of guy, pretty much, just straight up. That's what he needs to be if the Yankees want to win this World Series. Third starting pitcher in this rotation is Clark Schmidt. Former first-round draft pick, has been battling an injury this season, and he recently came back at the end of the regular season. Pair of 4.2 inning outings in this postseason where he's given up a pair of earned runs. Not terrible at all. It's about what you would expect from a Clark Schmidt at this point, coming back from an injury that, was, I believe, a 60-day IL injury stint. His control will, have to be there, and it's good that he's kind of limited walks in the starts that he's had in this postseason. I believe he's had under like 2 or 3 walks the entire time. So while the earned runs, have been given up, if he's not putting guys out there on the bases for free, I don't necessarily mind if he's given up a couple of earned runs. The Yankees should be able to go out there and score 2 runs in every single game in this series. And then that takes us to the back end of this rotation with the starting pitcher number 4 here in Luis Gil. Luis Gil, 4.0 innings pitched in his start against Cleveland, walking 3 and striking out 3. Part of me just really doesn't have much confidence in Luis Gil against a team like the Dodgers. I love Luis Gil. I think he's a phenomenal pitcher. I thought he was a phenomenal prospect. I think he has like tools that will seriously make him an elite starting pitcher in this league one day. I just think the control is not there at all right now. And he can go out there and still give you a really solid outing despite walking like 5 guys. But let's be honest, if you're walking the Dodgers 5 times, it's not going to go well for you. This team does better at not chasing out of the zone than any other team. And if he's not on his stuff, he could see that walk total climb up real quick. And we could see him have a Kodai Senga against LA level start where he just can't locate the zone. 12 of his first 15 pitches might be balls. I mean, I don't want to say this is going to happen, but I'm saying that I could, maybe more likely see this happen than him going out there and throwing like 6 innings scoreless against the Dodgers. But again, it's baseball. That's the beauty of it. That can happen too. I really would be very curious to see Luis Gil pitch against this Dodgers team in what would most likely be Game 4 of this series. I'm very curious to see how that goes. But we got to talk about the Yankees bullpen now. So let's move down to Marcus Stroman, who was on the ALCS roster. I'm not sure he'll be rostered for the World Series. I imagine he will be. Looking down at inactive players, I mean, Beater and Hamilton, I don't necessarily know if I would put them in over Stroman. Honestly, I kind of really like the way Stroman looks in high leverage games. No matter, the age, the numbers, I think Stroman's just a really fun pitcher to watch play at a high level. If you remember the World Baseball Classic start, I think he made in like 2017 or something that year. I don't know if he was, I can't remember. I don't think that was Tyler Clippard on the mound for when Adam Jones robbed Manny Machado. But Stroman was on that team nonetheless, and he was a big starting pitcher of that team. He knows, the high leverage starts. He knows how to operate in these high leverage games. So I'm hoping the Yankees can get the best out of him in this World Series, at least. That's what I'm hoping. Now we get into a lefty in Tim Meza, who is not very great. I'm just going to be honest. Like, he's just not very great. He has a 0 ERA here in 1.1 innings pitched. He has 2 hits allowed, 2 walks, 1 K. Again, just not a lot of sample in this playoffs. He just hasn't pitched a lot. But if those are what he's going to give us in a small sample size, then I'm totally okay with that. I'm totally fine with a couple of walks and a strikeout as long as you're not giving up any runs. But looking at Meza's underlying numbers, because I know we've looked at them before here on the show, especially when we were talking about certain directions that the Yankees could go for their bullpen when Clay Holmes was doing really bad. I'm going to put these up here and just, take it in why this guy is not really getting much time in this postseason. A lot of blue. He's good at getting ground balls. That's pretty much it. Other than that, I mean, man, Mookie Betts, Teoscar Hernandez, they're going to take this guy to the moon if they go up against him. So hopefully Aaron Boone has got that sense in him. He's been really good this postseason. I hope. He's been really good all season. Honestly, I feel like people have not been criticizing Aaron Boone as much for the decisions that he's made. They've more just been criticizing the play on the field. But I mean, just a little thought from me there. But I mean, I hope Aaron Boone just has the 2 cents to not throw Mesa in there. But next guy we got to talk about, Mark Leiter Jr. here, who came over from the Chicago Cubs in that trade. In the trade deadline, I don't believe he came over with anybody else. I think that was like a Jack Neely and another prospect that were thrown in for that. But Mark Leiter, if I'm not wrong, he's only got the one out. No, he's got 2 games played in this postseason, 2.1 innings pitched. He's got 2 strikeouts on 3 walks. So, I mean, please get those down. 7.7 K per 9 rate and a 3.86 ERA. It's not awful, but again, just walks, lower them. All I really got to add to that, if you can lower the walks, I'm perfectly good with that. But Leiter Jr. has some numbers that, the underlying numbers that I really personally loved seeing coming over from the Cubs. He hasn't necessarily given all of that, but this is the type of pitcher that we're getting with Mark Leiter in this World Series. You can see the chase, whiff, and strikeout numbers are there. The off-speed run value is there as well, and the ground ball rate's not bad either. And his average exit velocity is valid, or not valid, average. Yeah, average. But it's sitting like right on like the 50-50 line. Walk rate's not that good at all. Barrel rate, no. Hard hit rate, no. It's like a toss up, honestly, with throwing Mark Leiter Jr. in there, but I don't know. We'll see how he does. Moving back into the bullpen for a guy that has really surprised me with how good he's been. And if anybody else has been just surprised by how good this guy's been, let me know, because I hope I'm not the only one. In 7 games played, Tim Hill has been absolutely dominant from the left-handed side. 1.59 ERA. He's got 2 strikeouts and only a 3.2 K per rate, but who cares? He's only walked 1 batter as well. He's only given up 1 earned run on 6 hits, and in 5.2 innings pitched has gotten a hold and has just been unbelievably shut down from that left-handed side with that weird, wonky sidearm release. I was really skeptical about bringing Hill over. I thought that maybe was a bad decision, given that I don't love taking arms from the White Sox that are just random like that. I mean, it just seemed like a very random move, but I mean, it's paid off already. Even if the Yankees don't win the World Series, this guy gave them so much in the ALCS, and he's given them so much in the postseason in general that I think he really just deserves some kind of credit for what he's been able to do in this postseason. But moving on to Jake Cousins, who has been one of the most just interesting stories from this Yankees bullpen in this entire postseason. Jake Cousins has been leading this team in a K per 9 rate. That's been absolutely unreal of 20.3. The ERA has been 6.75, but in 2.2 innings pitched, he struck out like 6 guys. Obviously had that very, very strong outing in the ALCS Game 5 where he struck out 4. I'm all for Cousins going in and having like a couple inning outings, like at least every other game. This guy, I love watching him pitch. I think he could go in there and give us, I think he could get a save. I think he could get a hold. I think he could do whatever he has to do. This Jake Cousins guy is very, very special, and I think he deserves a little bit more usage, at least in this World Series. I would be, a lot more fond of seeing him in more games in this postseason, especially in the World Series. But hopefully, later on, if he's like a more future staple part of this bullpen, he gets more time, because I think he's kind of developing into a fan favorite as well as one other guy that we'll talk about here towards the end. But we've got Clay Holmes to talk about now, who, unless he's in the closer role, like we said, I mean, he's been really, really solid. He's in this postseason. He has been He's been decent. 7.0 K per nine rate, a 3.52 ERA, 8 games played. He's been used like a lot. 7.2 innings pitched, 7 hits, 3 earned runs. It's not awful, but I mean the whole Guardians game where they lost kind of blew up those numbers a little bit. So I'm not mad at Holmes for giving up that one home run. I mean, that was pretty evident that was going to happen. I wasn't surprised at all to see him give up that bomb to David Fry, and I don't think any other Yankee fan was. But moving on to the last arm in this bullpen, it's the Dreamweaver, Luke Weaver, 31-year-old from claimed off of waivers from Seattle. Probably one of the best moves the Yankees made. This dude is an absolute stud. He's just been tearing offenses apart this entire postseason. 8 games played. He has racked up 4 saves in over 10 innings pitched. He's only given up 7 hits, 3 earned runs, which some people really don't like. I mean, I don't care. 4 saves is 4 saves. That's 4 wins. But 7 hits, 3 earned runs. Some people don't love it, but I personally don't care. 2 home runs given up as well, which, again, a lot of people don't like. But 12 strikeouts to 1 walk. That's absurd. I mean, I almost said 22-1 because I was looking at Carlos Rodon's numbers, but Weaver's been just as unreal. And if he was a starter, he'd probably be putting up pretty similar numbers there. So the Yankees found their closer in Luke Weaver, and he's putting up a 2.61 ERA and a 10.5 K per nine rate. If anyone's going to close out the World Series for them this year, it's going to be Luke Weaver. So that's the quick kind of team by team overlook of the Yankees and the Dodgers going into this World Series, going in depth on both, the offensive end and the defensive end. If you missed the offensive side, go tune into the last episode of Back to the Dugout. I did a not really too extensive in-depth breakdown of these hitters, but I feel like most of them are pretty well known anyway. But shifting back into gear here as we get into our predictions, where we've got about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to run through these pretty quick. And Game 1, we know Garrett Cole's on the mound against Jack Flaherty. The Yankees hit 304 against Flaherty. Rizzo's hot against Jack Flaherty in his career. Gleyber Torres also great against Jack Flaherty. And the Dodgers don't do too good against Garrett Cole. Sorry, I just hit my mic there. But the Dodgers hit 226 against Garrett Cole, the 665 OPS. The hot hitters are Betts, Freeman, and Kike Hernandez, which scares me a little bit because those are really good hitters. And those guys are on right now besides Freeman, who's been nursing an injury. But Shohei's only a 200 hitter against Garrett Cole. Something about this just tells me it's on the road. Garrett Cole's going to shove, and I think the Yankees are going to come out and just stun the Dodgers on the road in Game 1 and take the W and go up 1-0. Dodgers are going to come back. Game 2, Carlos Rodon and Yoshinobu Yamamoto are the projected starters that I have. Yamamoto already locked in. But Yamamoto has been good against the Yankees, held them to a 125 average and OPS sub of 500. Every part of me just thinks that the Dodgers will not let themselves get swept in this initial homestand. I think that they are going to at least take one of these games, kind of like they did against the Mets. But it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world to see them lose both of these. We've seen crazier things happen in the World Series. But Rodon's held the Dodgers to a 190 batting average, but a 784 OPS. His command has been there, only walking one batter this postseason, like we already mentioned. But, he's pounding the strike zone, leaving balls over the plate and belt high, and all that's not necessarily the best thing in the world when you have really solid hitters like the Dodgers. It's not always going to work out. So I think the Dodgers win Game 2, but I think it's going to be very close. Game 3, I expect to be Clark Schmidt against Walker Buehler. We'll see if they choose a bullpen day over this, but I think Walker Buehler gets to start. Clark Schmidt, interesting matchup here is he does not have a large sample size against the Dodgers, and they hit 158 against him with a 474 OPS. Shohei does hit 333 on a few ABs against Clark Schmidt, but the Yankees hit 269 against Walker Buehler, who, while he looked really sharp, it's what Walker Buehler are we getting? Are we getting the one that's, 2 feet of horizontal break Walker Buehler, or are we getting the 6 earned run Walker Buehler? So that's just an interesting thing to note. And then it seems to be a trend, but after every good start, it seems like Walker Buehler has a rather mediocre one. So obviously it's not the same as just, normal season trends where you're playing every 5 days. I mean, this guy is having a little bit of rest from the NLCS into the World Series. but I think the Yankees will win this one. First game at Yankee Stadium in 15 years for the World Series. I think the Yankees are going to take that one, and I hope they do because we will have boots on the ground at that game as I will be in attendance for it. Hopefully, we'll get a ton of content out for you guys that way. And as far as the show goes on Monday, we'll see when I'm able to do that, if at all. But I would love to personally give like an update after the game or something, recap the game, and just do like a quick hour-long live or something after actually going to the game. Get some clips up to the show, certain notes. I think that would be a really cool show. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely let me know because I would be very down to do that if I had the chance. But game 4, Luis Gil versus the bullpen is what I'm guessing is going to be the case. And Gil, I don't think they're going to win this game because I think he's just going to be too erratic, and I think it's going to set the Yankees into a bit of a hole here. We'll see, but I just don't think his control will be there. I really don't. Game 5, Garrett Cole versus Jack Flaherty. Game 2, I think after seeing Cole once, this Dodgers team is going to excel more against him. The hitters are too good. I think they'll take this game, and then they'll take the lead heading back to LA. And this is where it gets really interesting. Game 6 is Rodon against Yamamoto again. And this is a very familiar Carlos Rodon with the NL West. And this is a bit of a reunion there. Maybe again for his second start in LA. But I think the Yankees are going to force a game 7 here. I think this is what the MLB wants. I think they want the most ratings. And how do you get the most ratings? You give them the greatest World Series matchup of all time. And that's exactly what we're going to get with game 7 of the 2024 World Series, where the pitching matchup is who cares? It's game 7. Everybody's on the table. We're going to see a lot of good pitching, a lot of good hitting if this is the case. And ultimately, I just think the Dodgers are going to take it, man, at home field. If it comes down to it, I think they're going to take it. And you know what? If they do take it, then I'm right. And at least I can say I had my World Series prediction right instead of saying the Yankees and just going with my fan bias, which I ultimately don't want to do when I'm making like actual predictions. So if we're going actual predictions and all bias aside, I think the Dodgers home field advantage in game 7 is just going to be too much to really overcome. I believe they lost that one game 7 at home to, what was that? The Red Sox. But yeah, I don't think that happens the second time around. We'll see. I would love for the Yankees to win the World Series, obviously, but the baseball fan in me, the journalist in me, just wants to see a good series. Just wants to see something where I could come back and tell you guys that this was the best World Series we've ever had, which after last year, let's be honest, we all deserve. But that's all I got for you guys today on Back to the Dugout. Sorry for the constant sniffling again. But I've just been battling a bit of a cold the last couple of weeks, but hopefully that's something that I can get rid of in New York and pass on to someone else at Yankee Stadium. But I'm excited to give you guys some content for all of that stuff. Obviously, to be able to just be going to the World Series is an absolute blessing, and to be able to cover that for you guys is a real just dream come true for me. And I can't wait to be just boots on the ground at Yankee Stadium, just getting game clips, getting clips of just stuff around the stadium, just giving you guys a bit of the experience that I can take home with me. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to get some of that firsthand for you guys. But that's all I got for you guys today. Tune in to Defo Show coming up here in an hour, and tune into all of the other stuff here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. But for all the other guys on the crew here, I'm Toby Shulman, and I will see you guys. Don't know on Monday, but I'll see you guys next Thursday for sure here on Back to the Dugout.